You spend most of your life surrounded by noise. Not only external noise, internal noise. Thoughts, reactions, worries, mental repetition, invisible pressure. And after a while, you stop noticing it. The mind becomes so loud that silence starts to feel uncomfortable. Most people think silence means the absence of sound, but that is not what changes a person. The silence that changes your life is the moment when the mind stops pulling you in every direction at once. That moment is rare for most people, because people stay busy not only to survive, but to avoid themselves. Think about it. The moment life becomes quiet, something strange happens. Thoughts you avoided start coming up. Emotions you buried begin to surface. Questions you postponed return again. So people keep moving. More scrolling, more entertainment, more distractions, more stimulation. Not because it fulfills them, because it keeps them from facing what is underneath. What you have to understand is that noise does not only exist around you. Noise exists inside your identity. And if your inner world is chaotic, your life eventually reflects that chaos. This is why many people keep trying to change their lives externally while feeling the same internally. New goals, new routines, new manifestations, new affirmations. But underneath it all, the same mental environment remains active. The same fear, the same emotional patterns, the same unconscious tension. So the results repeat themselves in different forms. The truth is, your life does not only respond to what you want. It responds to the state you continuously live in. And most people never stay still long enough to notice the state they are actually carrying. Silence reveals it. That is why silence can feel uncomfortable before it feels peaceful. Because silence removes escape routes. When there is no distraction, you finally hear what has been running your mind the entire time. You begin noticing how often you anticipate problems before they happen. How often you replay old memories. How often you seek validation. How often you speak to yourself with pressure instead of trust. Now stay with me here. This is where everything changes. Not when you force yourself to think positively. Not when you pretend to be confident. Not when you chase another temporary emotional high. Change begins when you become aware of the mental noise itself. Because awareness creates separation. The moment you can observe a thought without immediately becoming it, something shifts inside you. For the first time, you realize you are not the noise. You are the awareness behind it. That realization sounds simple, but it changes the entire structure of how you experience life. Most people live fused with their thoughts. Every emotion becomes identity. Every fear becomes truth. Every anxious prediction feels real. And because of that, the nervous system stays in constant reaction mode. The body starts memorizing stress. The subconscious starts accepting limitation as normal. The mind keeps searching for evidence that confirms the same emotional state. This is why external success alone rarely creates peace. Someone can have money and still feel empty. Someone can achieve goals and still feel restless. Someone can appear successful while internally exhausted. Because peace does not come from controlling every condition around you. Peace comes from no longer being controlled by every movement of the mind. Silence teaches that. Not intellectual silence, experiential silence. The kind where you sit long enough to notice your own patterns without immediately escaping them. At first, it feels strange. You notice how addicted the mind is to stimulation, how quickly it reaches for distraction, how uncomfortable it feels to simply be present, and that discomfort tells you something important. It shows you how little control most people actually have over their attention. Think about how often your mind moves automatically. You open your phone without intention. You replay conversations from days ago. You imagine future problems that do not exist yet. You compare your life constantly. You create emotional reactions before reality even happens. This becomes normal after years of repetition. The subconscious learns through repetition, not through occasional intention. So if stress is repeated daily, the body adapts to stress. If fear is repeated daily, the mind adapts to fear. If distraction is repeated daily, presence starts feeling unfamiliar. That is why silence matters. Silence interrupts repetition. And once repetition is interrupted, awareness becomes possible. Let that sink in. Many people are trying to create a new life while emotionally rehearsing the old one every single day. They want change while mentally living inside the same emotional environment. The mind keeps saying, "Nothing is working. I'm behind. Something is missing. Maybe I'm not enough." And because those thoughts repeat constantly, the nervous system treats them as reality. This affects decisions, energy, relationships, focus, confidence, not because life is punishing you, because the mind conditions perception. You do not experience life exactly as it is. You experience life through the state you consistently occupy. This is why two people can face the same situation and experience it completely differently. One sees possibility, the other sees danger. One remains centered, the other reacts immediately. The external situation matters, but the internal state shapes interpretation. Silence allows you to finally see this clearly, not through theory, through direct experience. When you sit quietly without needing to fix everything immediately, you begin noticing the machinery of the mind. You notice thoughts arriving automatically. You notice emotions rising and fading. You notice impulses appearing and disappearing. And slowly, something important happens. You stop identifying with every mental movement. This creates space, and inside that space, new choices become possible. Because if you are not fully controlled by automatic thinking anymore, you can begin responding consciously instead of reacting unconsciously. That changes relationships. That changes decisions. That changes emotional patterns. That changes the future. Most people search for transformation in dramatic moments, but many real transformations happen quietly. A person suddenly realizes they no longer react the same way. They no longer chase approval constantly. They no longer panic over uncertainty. They no longer feel consumed by every thought. That change often begins in silence. Not because silence magically fixes life, because silence reveals what was previously hidden under constant mental movement. Now think about this carefully. Every answer you truly needed probably appeared when your mind became quieter. Not during panic, not during mental overload, not during emotional chaos. Clarity arrives when inner resistance decreases. This is why some of your best ideas appear in the shower, during walks, late at night, in still moments. The mind finally stops shouting long enough for deeper awareness to surface. And yet most people avoid silence because they mistake stillness for emptiness. But stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is where you reconnect with yourself underneath conditioning, before the pressure, before the fear, before years of unconscious repetition. You begin remembering that your worth was never dependent on constant productivity. Your value was never dependent on external validation. Your future was never as limited as your conditioned mind believed. You start seeing how much of your identity was built through repetition rather than truth. A child hears limitations repeatedly. An adult repeats those limitations internally. Eventually, the repetition feels factual. But repetition does not automatically create truth. It creates familiarity, and familiarity can keep people trapped for years. This is why awareness matters more than force. Force creates resistance. Awareness creates change. The moment you become conscious of a pattern, the pattern starts losing unconscious control over you. That is real power, not controlling the world, controlling your relationship with your own mind. Because once you can remain present without being consumed by every thought, life begins feeling different. Not perfect, different. You respond with more clarity. You feel less emotionally scattered. You stop creating suffering from every uncertain situation. And slowly, the energy you once spent fighting yourself becomes available again. This is where many people finally begin creating meaningful change. Not from desperation, not from panic, from alignment between awareness, emotion, and action. The truth is, most people are exhausted not because life is impossible, but because their mind never rests. Constant internal commentary drains energy. Constant emotional resistance drains energy. Constant overthinking drains energy. Silence restores that energy. Not all at once. Gradually. And the more comfortable you become with silence, the less dependent you become on external noise to feel okay. That is freedom. To sit alone without needing distraction. To face uncertainty without immediate panic. To observe thoughts without automatically believing them. Most people never realize how powerful that is. Because society trains attention outward constantly. More information. More stimulation. More comparison. But wisdom often appears in the opposite direction. In stillness. In observation. In presence. This is why silence changes people. Not because silence gives you something new. Because silence removes what was covering your clarity. And once clarity returns, you begin seeing your life differently. You stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and start asking, "What patterns have I been repeating unconsciously?" That question changes everything. Because there is nothing fundamentally broken about you. There are conditioned patterns, emotional habits, learned reactions. And learned patterns can change. But they change through awareness first. Not punishment, not self-hatred, not endless pressure. Awareness. The more conscious you become, the less automatic your life becomes. And this is where your power returns. Not through controlling every outcome. Through no longer being controlled internally. So the next time silence feels uncomfortable, pay attention. That discomfort may not be emptiness. It may be the moment you finally begin hearing yourself clearly for the first time. And if this way of understanding the mind and inner transformation speaks to you, subscribe to the channel and continue exploring these ideas with us. There is another video waiting for you that will help you understand how your emotional state shapes the direction of your entire life.